We're here at the World Heritage Site of the ancient city of Hieropolis and Pamukkale, or Cotton Castles. Behind me you see what's known as Cleopatra's Pool. But who was Cleopatra? And did she ever really come to Turkey? Cleopatra was probably written about more than any other woman in the ancient world, so we do know quite a bit about her. We know from busts and statues that she was not the most beautiful woman, even though Hollywood depicts her as this great Egyptian queen. We do know that she was of Greek descent. When Alexander the Great lay dying in Babylon, he failed to name an heir for his empire. It is said that he whispered, "My empire goes to the strongest." So his three strongest generals took him at his word and split up his empire. General Ptolemy took over the part of his empire that included Egypt. So Egypt was actually ruled by Greeks until the end. Cleopatra was actually a descendant of General Ptolemy. As a young girl, she was known to be very clever and inquisitive, and she absorbed all kinds of knowledge. While the ruling Greek class in Egypt didn't even bother to learn the language of the people that they ruled, she did. Not only did she speak Koine Greek, but she also spoke Egyptian and Latin, which came in handy when Julius Caesar came to Alexandria. When Cleopatra's father died, the kingdom was left to her and her brother. Her brother's advisors immediately tried to take control of the kingdom, and they managed to kick Cleopatra out. Luckily for her, Julius Caesar arrived just in the nick of time. He restored power to her, and under her tutelage, she became a very wise leader. Even though she may not have been that beautiful, her wit and cleverness were apparently very appealing, because even Julius Caesar himself stopped long enough in his quest for power to fall under her spell. And eventually, Julius Caesar even brought her to Rome. However, the Romans rejected her. Rome was still a republic at this time, and very conservative. The leaders of Rome did not approve of her lavishness, her wealth. They considered her a barbarian queen, and they felt she had a bad influence on Julius Caesar, that she was encouraging him to become a king. Julius Caesar and Cleopatra continued their affair for many years. They actually had 3 children together. But on her second visit to Rome, Julius Caesar was assassinated, and she had to flee back to Alexandria. Cleopatra's kingdom was in danger. Rome was absorbing all of the Mediterranean world, and she fought as hard as she could to keep Egypt free. But how could she do that? Well, in 41 BC, she received a summon from Mark Antony. When Caesar died, he left a power gap, and 3 men stepped in to fill that void. Mark Antony, Caesar's right-hand man, was one of them. Mark Antony summoned her to Tarsus in southwestern Turkey. So she came in all her glitter and glory. She actually sailed her barge up the river to the city of Tarsus, showing off her wealth at every turn. She moored her boat and then refused to get off of it. She insisted that Mark Antony was going to come to her. She understood that the way to save her kingdom was to seduce this man, so that he would fight with her to keep it free. Tales of Cleopatra's wealth spread throughout the city of Tarsus until Mark Antony's curiosity got the best of him, and he went to her boat to have a lavish dinner. In fact, this dinner is the famous dinner where she supposedly dropped pearls into wine and drank them, showing that they were nothing to her compared to the wealth of Egypt. Now, Egypt was extremely important for Rome. Mark Antony knew this. Egypt was the breadbasket of Rome because Rome could not feed her own citizens. But Cleopatra worked her wiles, and Mark Antony did fall under her spell, and the two became inseparable. Mark Antony was a bit of a party boy and a wild child, and Cleopatra's lavish lifestyle really appealed to him. He was determined to marry her. However, he was already married to Octavian's daughter. Now, Octavian, the nephew of Julius Caesar, later becomes Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. His divorce of Octavian's daughter and subsequent marriage to Cleopatra created a rift in between these powerful men, and battle loomed on the horizon. The power struggle between Octavian and Mark Antony came to a head in the Battle of Actium in 51 BC in western Greece. Cleopatra put all of her wealth and might behind him, but Mark Antony was unable to defeat Octavian and his glorious general Marcus Agrippa. In fact, Mark Antony's men began to desert him, and Antony barely escaped with his life back to Alexandria. Octavian quickly pursued Mark Antony and defeated his troops. And Mark Antony, being the good Roman soldier that he was, fell on his sword and committed suicide rather than accept defeat. Now, Cleopatra realized that when Octavian captured her, she was going to be taken back to Rome and marched through his triumphal parade as a slave. Her ego was not going to allow this, so she killed herself as well. Hollywood depicts it as a snake being snuck into her rooms where she was being heavily guarded, but in actuality, she probably poisoned herself. In any event, this was the end of the kingdom of Egypt as an independent entity. It was absorbed into the Roman Empire, and Augustus takes this glory and goes on to become the first emperor of Rome. Cleopatra and Mark Antony were known to give each other lavish gifts, and this so-called Cleopatra's Pool was supposed to be one of them. He had a temple to Apollo built over this pool so that she would have a bathing area where she could absorb the healing properties of this water. The health benefits of these waters have been known since ancient times, and many pilgrims came here to absorb them. Today, many more modern pilgrims come to enjoy this beautiful sight and to swim in Cleopatra's Pool. Hi, I'm Michelle and this is Brian, and we hope you've enjoyed watching History on Site. A few years ago, we sold everything and took off to travel. We enjoy finding stories, myths, and legends about the historical sites that we visit. So if you enjoyed this video, please let us know by hitting that like button. And we would appreciate any comments or suggestions that you have. If you'd like to see more History on Site, hit the subscribe button and don't miss our upcoming videos. Thank you.